Hi, my name is Mrs. Denise Parker, and I'm with the National College Resources Foundation. I am the manager of internships and careers for the National College Resources Foundation. That means I am connecting opportunities, industry experts, recruiters, all the above, the career aspirations that you guys are talking about wanting to pursue. We created this virtual career incubator session, which we host every week. And each week we detail the instructions, career pathways, formulas, processes, however you want to describe it, of how you make it in your individual careers and how to go about going after your dreams. And this week, I'm so honored to have our special panel discussion of four very powerful figures in healthcare, women in healthcare who are coming from all aspects of life. And I want to just one by one let them introduce themselves and where they're representing city, state, and the company that you're representing, so that we can actually know that this is a hybrid of, it's a national event. It's not just a singular thing. It's a national. So again, let's go through the room. Adriana, can you start us off?
Yes. Hi, I am Adriana Christo Williams. Captain Christo Williams is my military name. So I am a nurse in the Army. I have been in the Army for 15 years now. And my current role is a nurse counselor. So I don't just represent the nursing, but all of healthcare. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to help you. So I currently reside in Seattle area, originally from Mississippi, and moving to Colorado in 2 weeks. So all over the place.
Excellent. Thank you, Captain. And Patrice, Dr. Little.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
I do that often. Good evening. I'm Dr. Patrice Little. I'm a board certified family nurse practitioner. And right now I live in Atlanta, Georgia, or Metro Atlanta, Georgia, originally from Connecticut by way of the beautiful island of Jamaica. And I currently run NP Student Magazine, which is a digital lifestyle and educational publication for nurse practitioner students. And in addition to that, I do some consultation to help with the nursing workforce so we could address that nursing shortage gap. It's a pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you, Doctor. And now we have Joyce Tapley.
I'm Joyce Tapley, and I am the Chief Executive Officer for a community-based health network called Foremost Family Health Centers. And we're in Dallas, Texas. I've been their CEO, been there for, this will be my 24th year, but I've been a healthcare administrator since 1990. So I've been there a little over 30 years, primarily focusing on providing primary care, preventive care. I hire the physicians and nurse practitioners, dentists, social workers. So we've got a multi-specialty group practice with 3 locations throughout Dallas. And I also have a consulting company, and I actually conduct site visits for community-based health centers and make sure that they're compliant with running the business and providing quality care, keeping safety for the staff and the patients together. And I'm right now in Phoenix, Arizona, helping take care of my father, who just recently had a stroke. And this is a new part of my life that I'm going to be participating in. But I have been in the role for quite some time and really want to encourage and try to mentor and promote healthcare administration and all the aspects of running a healthcare business. So that's one of my priorities at this point, because I really want to see more of us in various aspects of healthcare business.
Excellent.
Those practitioners on too.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And we have Dr. Angel White.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Angel White. I'm a doctoral prepared board certified family nurse practitioner. I've been in the healthcare field for a little over 15 years. I actually started off as a certified nursing assistant, then to a registered nurse. Then I got my nurse practitioner, then I got my doctoral degree. Currently, I'm in Calumet City, Illinois. So that's like 10 minutes from Chicago, Illinois. I own my own primary healthcare clinic out here in Calumet City. I do primarily primary care, urgent care, and weight management. Um, I'm also the president and founder of Angels Helping Hands, which is a not-for-profit organization. I mentor young teen girls and just helping them with their personal and professional goals. So welcome, everybody.
Well, this is going to be a powerful discussion. We're coming from the various parts of our nation, and I'm super excited for that. And I met all these wonderful, powerful women at either an event that we've hosted at National College Resources Foundation or Black College Expo, or via LinkedIn. We have just connected and just, just bonded and made sure that we wanted to get the message out about how to pursue careers in healthcare. So let's ask our first question. How did you guys get started? I mean, what was your career pathway? Did it start off dreaming and thinking that you're going to be in healthcare, or did something lead you into that career field? Anybody can start.
Okay, so I'll start. So Denise already knows this, that my path was non-traditional when it came to becoming a nurse. My first degree is biology pre-med, so I did quite a bit of research and was able to do publication before I completed undergrad. And when it was time to decide where to go next, I was just like, let me check out the nurse practitioner on campus. She seemed pretty cool. So I asked her if I could just shadow, and that turned into the shadowing turned into a work study position where I was able to learn the ins and outs of her role as a nurse practitioner. And that's where my love for becoming a nurse practitioner started. And I did what she advised. She said, finish the biology degree, because I was just a year away. And I taught high school for 3 years, taught secondary science. So that's where I applied that degree. And then I went to the second degree program for nursing, and the rest is history. After that, it just continued to move up the ladder. So it's non-traditional. And I just share that story because I want individuals to know that everyone's path is not the same, but I was still able to get to the end where I wanted to.
Excellent. Joyce, how would you say that you got started? Because now you're a CEO.
I actually started as a pre-med student also. I ended up majoring in mathematics from the University of Washington in Seattle. And I was interested very much in medicine because we had a family history of different types of chronic conditions that affect the Black community and Blacks. And so that was kind of where I wanted to be. I thought I was going to be a doctor and all of that. But I realized after I graduated, I really wanted to do something different that's not going to take so long to get out so I can start paying off the loans, But when I found out about healthcare administration, I thought about that giving me an opportunity to still be in healthcare, but to be in a position where I can help affect change and help figure out ways that the Black families can get the type of care they need. Because I grew up military, my father was in the Air Force and moved around a lot. And I could tell the care that we received and my parents received compared to some of our white counterparts was different. And so I asked a lot of questions and was able to do quite a bit for my family. But I believe that going into that School of Public Health program really opened my eyes to the entire business and how healthcare is run from the hospital setting to the multi-specialty group practice setting to the community-based setting, which is what I am in now. But I'm also in a position that I can help mentor and promote and groom other people who are interested in healthcare, like our medical assistants, nurses, LVNs, nurse practitioners, and even where I am now, we have established a way to link with hospital networks and make our sites a site for people to rotate and get their experience so that they can be interested in primary care, and it gives them an opportunity to keep their options open as well. So that's kind of how I ended up getting in this type of field. And I really love it because I can see how we're impacting underserved communities with focusing on chronic disease management, primary care, preventive care.
Excellent. Captain?
Yes. So my mom was actually a nurse. She's now a nurse practitioner. So I had that influence. The problem was I was not sure how I was going to pay for nursing school. She was a single mom and, made too much to get government assistance. So that's where the Army came in. When I was in high school, I came across a recruiter and, my goal had always to become a nurse. And so I did obviously join as an enlisted soldier working a different job in the Army, and went to school in the evenings as I was an active duty soldier stationed in Hawaii. And that's when the Army actually sent me to school full time to get my BSN. Since I have had my BSN and working as a registered nurse, when I was at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in DC, I had the opportunity to work various jobs within the hospital. And so I was always trying to figure out, because as y'all know, in nursing, there's several different types of nursing, which I love, but it also can be confusing whenever you're trying to find, like, where do you really fit? Like, what's your purpose? And once I had the opportunity to teach one of our LVN schools, it was very apparent to me that leading and mentoring is where my heart is. And so that is how I kind of found out what I wanted my next step to be. So with that being said, my next step is the reason why I'm going to Colorado is the Army sending me to University of Colorado's DNP program to become a clinical nurse specialist. So that's my next route. So that's how I knew I wanted to become a nurse. I was going to get there, I had to find that way. But then once you become a nurse, like, obviously you're like, what's next? Once you get into that nursing world, you see there's so much more out there. That's my story so far.
Excellent. And Dr. White.
Well, I kind of always knew that I was going to be on the path of healthcare. Even when I was younger, I was always the one looking out for people. I just knew I wanted to take care of people. So I knew I was going to be a nurse or a doctor. And as I got older, towards my junior and senior year in high school, I was just like, I was doing a little research. I'm like, I'm just going to go be a nurse. I can help people. I'm going to take care of people. So straight after high school, I went straight to college, went and got my RN, became a registered nurse at 22. And I was like, okay, this is good. What's next? So, and then I was like, okay, I got to go further because now I'm not satisfied because there's more out there. So after that, I went for my nurse practitioner, and it just was going up from there. And it's the best field I could have ever picked to be in.
Well, now let's let our special guests, which are our students, to ask some questions, because I'm pretty sure they have some and their interests. Does anybody want to shout out or type in the chat, what part of healthcare are you interested in pursuing? Or if you have a question for any of our special panelists, guests. I'll give you a moment to either, you can come off of mute, or you can type it in the chat. It's up to you. Don't be shy. And while we're waiting for the participants who came to listen to this wonderful info session, I just have one question for you guys as we're waiting for those questions to come in our chat. What is it like to pursue a healthcare career today, in today's era? How important is it for you to pursue or go after a career in healthcare? What is the top reason why you should consider healthcare as a career?
Well, I can say that there's always going to be a need of people needing healthcare of some kind, whether it's primary care, preventive care, specialty care. And there are so many options that you can go into. Even if you are in clinical, there are different areas, not only just direct patient care, but like these fine women here, they're in different aspects of that, helping to run that business, not just direct patient care, but there's probably some administrative, there's some mentorship and things like that. But I just believe that because healthcare is still a business, there are so many positions within a hospital or a physician practice office that you can get your career. And it can be in technology, it can be in finance, it can be in general administration, the clinical care. So there's just a lot of different ways, and it gives you options to expand your career and not just funnel in one area. You can be in multiple careers within healthcare. So people are always going to need some type of healthcare.
Absolutely. You're on mute, Denise.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Keep on adding on, Dr. White.
Absolutely. You have so many opportunities in healthcare. I have colleagues that work for legal firms, all sorts of things. It's just a whole bunch of opportunities. And also, if you can make a living of healthcare. So you pretty much always guaranteed a job. As Joyce said, people are always going to be in need of healthcare. Regardless, people are always going to be in need of healthcare. It's always people growing old, getting sick. So when you're in healthcare, you most definitely will be needed. You will be valued, and you can make a good living off of it too, as well.
Anybody else want to tie up and close out that segment? Because we have some questions in the chat.
Can you repeat the question again, please,
Yes,
Denise?
Sure. Dr. Little, I asked the question about, in today's age, what's going on in healthcare today? How important is it to pursue a healthcare career? What is your opinion and why you should do it?
So one of the things that I've want students to gain from here is that things are a little bit innovative than it was years ago. And I believe the other ladies can attest to this. So what happens is that it's not just the direct care that you could serve in, but just also think outside of the box and be open to creativity. So for the track, or what I do right now, involves a lot of like a media component. So what I end up doing is kind of the same things I would as a nurse. I joined a media association, a Black Journalists Association. There's a national and a local chapter. And through that, I make connections. And as a nurse, I was able to use that to help produce a show here in Atlanta for 3 years. Not 3 years, pardon me, for 3 months. It was a short show that involved a lot of healthcare bills. My doctorate focused on healthcare policy. So I say that because I just want everyone to understand that it's not what it was years ago, where the furthest you would see yourself would just be working in the hospital. It also encompasses administration and encompasses expert witnesses, like what you would do for an attorney if there's a case. It encompasses media, because there's a lot of communications and there's individuals out there who need to kind of write on behalf of the medical field, but it's great when they have that nursing background. It also encompasses television, where they consult with you to make sure, okay, are we doing this right? Because many of you have watched healthcare shows where you're like, what are they doing? That is not what's done in a hospital. So just be open to the fact that this is a great time to go in healthcare. One, there's a huge flight of people who are retiring. And I believe by 2035, that we will have more 65-year-olds than we actually will have actual children. And so one of the goals is to really push people to go to follow that career ladder. So to be okay also with starting as a CNA, to explore to see if nursing is a good fit for you. So that's all I'm going to share right there.
Oh, well, that was excellent. I think if Captain Adriana, did you want to add anything to what Dr. Little or Joyce or Dr. White has mentioned?
Yes, I was gonna say really quick, as you see with what's been going on in the world lately, COVID and everything, there's obviously a high need. I'm sure everyone has seen on the media how there's been shortages, and not just at the bedside. We talk about nursing a lot because we have nurses in here, but mental health specialists, so psychologists, like we're really been honing in on like the mental health aspect and like the need in that. And we're short in the Army, in all branches, but also on the civilian side. So there's many areas. And like she said, definitely try out something, like become a CNA first, see if it's for you, because, nursing or any other part of healthcare, your heart really needs to be in it, because it's not always glamorous. And definitely just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, because right now the money looks really good in those areas. As a brand new nurse, you can make more than I think nurses ever have historically. So please just make sure you're not only just paying attention to the dollar sign, make sure it's something that you wholeheartedly want to do.
Well, since we're talking to tons of people in healthcare who are in the nursing side, And then we have somebody here who's representing a clinic and also a hospital from different administrative sides. I definitely want to ask the question based on what our chat is talking about. One wants to become an RN. The other one wants to pursue Yelena. I think that, did I pronounce that right? I'm sorry if I didn't. You want to become an RN, a registered nurse. So what's the difference between an RN and a C? You mentioned something with the C. Was a C NR or NA?
A
Or
certified nursing assistant, a CNA is a certified nursing assistant.
okay.
That's like the basic foundation of nurses. And every individual that wants to become a nurse most definitely should become a CNA first, which most programs have incorporated that you have to get your certified nursing assistant certification first, which typically only takes about 6 weeks to obtain that. You're more hands-on with the patient when you become a certified nursing assistant. You helping them with their feedings, if they're incontinent of bowel and bladder, you helping keeping them clean, helping them with showers. Some nursing assistants help them with certain activities and things like that. Once you become a registered nurse, you get in more to prescribing, well, not prescribing medication, but administering medication that a physician has prescribed for the patient. So it's more of you passing pills, you're doing like dressing changes for wounds, inserting things like Foley catheters, changing colostomy bags, and things like that. It's more of a high level patient care that you will be providing as a registered nurse, depending on what area you do go into. Some registered nurses, once they finish, some of them don't even go into the hospital or work inside of clinics or nursing homes, assisted living facilities and things like that. Some of them go to work for insurance companies. Some of them go to just do administrative duties. So it's a broad range of opportunities and things that you can do. Some of them go into home health, hospice care.
Tons.
Yeah, tons.
There's no limit.
No,
We asked
none at all.
we actually had another question. Now you guys can chime in anytime. Panelists, you add your own insights because different. Sorry for a second. I'm lagging for a second. Hold on. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Can you guys hear me?
So I know in some regions of the United States, there are certified nursing assistants. On the West Coast, there are a lot of certified medical assistants. Yeah. They'll go into becoming a licensed vocational nurse, an LVN, and in some areas they call it LPN, licensed practitioner, I think. And then there's the RN track and everything else too. So for depending upon where you live, there may be an emphasis on trying to train more certified medical assistants for the hospitals, the medical practice groups, community-based, and all of that. So just keep in mind that some of the terminology may be just a little bit different. It's pretty much
yeah, a little bit different, and also the medical assistants require a little more education. The certified nursing assistant is about 6 weeks. The medical assistant program can be a whole year. And those typically, work in clinics, doctor's office, because I do have a medical assistant that work here at my clinic as well, but their schooling is a little longer because they're allowed to do like injections, a little more than what you can do as a certified nursing assistant.
It's important to know what's the first steps in becoming an RN. So if somebody's interested in becoming an RN, where would you say for them to start looking? Should they look at a university, a college? We have somebody here from the Army representing. How would you say that first step to becoming a registered nurse or a CNA, wherever you guys are suggesting?
If you're wanting to go the RN route, so, to get your basic, usually those first 2 years is what we call a prerequisite. It's the basic courses like your maths, your English and all those classes. So, that could be taken at a community college. That's typically the smarter thing to do if you're looking at finances as a potential issue. And then you can transition on to go to a university if you're wanting to get your BS in. I highly recommend you getting your bachelor's because you can become an RN with your associates. But nowadays, it's definitely highly recommended that you go ahead and get your bachelor's. For the Army, we have Army ROTC. So I don't know if you all are aware of that, but that is where you go to any university across the nation that has an ROTC program. And as long as you have a GPA, I think the minimum is 2.5. Obviously, if you're going to nursing school, you got to have ideally 3.5 and higher if you're trying to get into an RN, a BSN program. But the ROTC program will cover your tuition and fees, and sometimes even like your room and board. And so that is something to definitely look into. And another positive is, as we all know, nursing school is very competitive. So another pro to going through the ROTC route, which I didn't know about, is we actually have agreements with a lot of our nursing schools. So for instance, Seattle U, they get approximately 1,000 applicants per cohort, and they only accept 80. So if you're in the ROTC program, as long as you meet the minimum requirements, that's an automatic acceptance into the program, just because they know what leadership skills and critical thinking skills that you come with. We're typically a lot more successful and don't necessarily have to compete against the others with a 4.0. So there's different routes.
You're on mute, Denise.
Thank you. You're going to be my Vanna White. Okay, we just dated myself, right there. Okay. I would love for everybody else to kind of share, what would you say is the best steps to go about going the RN route, a doctor route, going all the way to get your doctoral degrees, any other medical professional fields? What would be the best steps that you guys to suggest? You could pick any profession within the healthcare industry for our audience. Whomever wants to answer that question.
I say to get the best response is figure out which field you're like, try to narrow down the field that you want to go into and find a mentor in that field. Because, what we may know for nursing may look completely different for someone who wants to go into dentistry or psychology, so find someone in that field. If you don't have anyone in your family or among your friends, go to the local hospital. There's so many mentorship programs, and find a representative who can get you in touch with someone in that field and see if they'd be willing to let you shadow or just sit down and have a one-on-one with them.
Excellent. Excellent. Eric Lynn asked, should I try to pursue a role in healthcare if I didn't enroll in a pre-med program? So a pre-med program obviously is for somebody who's already in college, maybe going into a discipline that's focusing on medicine. But maybe Joyce, you can answer this since you did a different route.
Okay, say the question one more time so I can make sure
He asked, should I try to pursue a role in healthcare if I didn't enroll in a pre-med program?
Okay, I'm going to say this because I'm not sure how it is now in schools, but when I was a pre-med student, now this is back in the 80s, we didn't have to have a designated pre-med. You didn't have to major in biology or chemistry. You can major in whatever it is you want to major in, because I started out in biology and then went to math because I really enjoyed math. But what was more important was that you were well-rounded in terms of how what you did in life, that you were in a program, that you got good grades, and then you took your, I guess, MCAS at the time is what it was, and that you moved into that sphere. But I don't know how it is now. I think that the other nurse practitioners and doctors that are on the call may be able to answer that part. But if the person is interested in healthcare administration, the field is open. So I would hope that one of the other ladies on the call could help answer that, because I'm not quite sure how the pre-med program is now. I think they would do a little bit better.
I believe so. It was kind of a broad question, right? He said that he's interested in health care.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that kind of goes back to narrowing down like which part of healthcare. There's like so many different areas, but you don't need pre-med for every area of healthcare.
You really don't. And if you're interested in healthcare administration or something within the healthcare field that's not a direct clinical care position, then you get the degree that you enjoy the most. Because again, there are people in finance, there's billing and reimbursement, there's general operations in healthcare, there's the administrator roles, there's any C-suite position. There are I'm getting ready to hire one of my nurse practitioners to be on my C-suite team to be associate medical director at one of my sites. So they'll not only have clinical responsibility, but administrative. I mean, there is a person that's over customer service and patient access. There is a person that's over compliance. So there are so many different positions within healthcare that you can do because it's a business. So businesses have a finance department, a legal department, a compliance department, an operations department. People can be executive assistants that do a lot of other aspects. There's strategic planners. There are social media folks in healthcare. We have outreach people in healthcare, advocacy. So there are so many different positions in the healthcare field that is really maybe even going and looking at healthcare administration curriculum online and see what all they offer. There's biostatistics. There is population health and management data, and there's research in healthcare. So there are a lot of different ways to go. Just get a degree is what I'm going to say to anybody that's on the call. Obtain a degree of some kind of bachelor's degree, because we have a more difficult time with people wanting to hire us if you don't have a degree. And that is the fact. So obtain a bachelor's degree, and if you want to go into healthcare administration side, work on a master's as well. It could be an master's in public health, a master's in health administration, a master's in business administration. It can be a master's in public administration. So those are some of the things that I would suggest that you all keep your options open to get you in the healthcare field. I hope that helps a little bit more.
That was very detailed. Thank you. What are some necessary skills we should develop to become as successful as a doctor? So it can be soft skills versus the technical skills. What would you say? Or for me, I would say I have a master's in healthcare administration, and I'm a customer service, like I'm all about customer service. So I really feel for me personally, I want to make sure that my patients that I work with are treated like they are the only person in the room, and so that they are getting all their needs met, whether it's a question answered, and I work in that space in wellness, in health, wellness, and physical therapy rehab. So I talk about the personal experience, because when they come in, you don't know what they have. How would you answer that question? What are some necessary skills we should develop to become as successful as a doctor? Hard and soft skills.
So starting with the soft skills, definitely the communication, which has two parts. It's the listening and, of course, the speaking. And you are probably familiar with the saying, we have two ears, because we should do twice as much listening than we should do speaking. So one of the things is that over the years that I've learned, even in the training, is that oftentimes people will tell you exactly what's wrong with them when it comes to the diagnosing part, because as nurse practitioners, that's part of what we do. And so it's important to be able to listen. And then when it comes time to communicate the type of care, to make sure that you're communicating to the patient at the level that they can understand you. And sometimes that communication is not just speaking or sometimes if the English is the second language, or if it's not, or if they have a different language where they do not speak English at all, it's also making sure that you have those resources available and being able to put it in writing as well, just for reinforcement. So those are like the main skills. One of the things with my platform, with NP Student Magazine, I offer a course where for NP students, where they're able to transition and have their mindset ready to be an NP student. And one of the 4 things that we focus on is the fact that with the communication, the assessment, so being aware of the being observant. That's another skill. That's something that you'll learn in training. It may not be fully a soft skill, but it's something that is necessary. So you need all your senses to be working to be a practitioner. And so with that assessment, being able to communicate and being able to also, there's certain things like with calculations, oftentimes we become reliant because this is a different time, it's more modernized. And so the way medicine is set up now, there's a lot of reliance on technology for certain things. So it's also important that even though there's certain skills that are essential, the main thing I want to reinforce is to really be abreast as far as be one and with what you're doing. So when you're with the patient, be with the patient. And when you're in the office and you're writing a prescription, be one with that. So that's one thing that I don't feel is emphasized enough. I don't know if you call that a skill, but really being in the moment and being aware, because that's typically where medical errors come from. And at the end of the day, none of us want to harm our patients. We want to do our best. So certain things that you have to have in place as part of your daily practice or discipline is that listening, communication, and then also being one with what you're doing and not getting to the point where it's just where it becomes, I can't remember the term for it, but where it becomes something that's just not too familiar, but you know how people get so comfortable with it. So just to always be aware that anything can happen.
One of the things that I like when a doctor actually prescribes medicine or, relates information to me that's pretty pressing, that's, about my health or health of a loved one, I want them to be able to communicate that with me, communicate it in a way where I can understand it. And it's not so technical and so big in scope where I can't absorb it, but I have next steps and plans, even if it's something that you're dealing with a terminal ill family member or something. What's my next steps? Who is my patient advocate besides myself? Is there somebody in the hospital who's representing? Those are also roles that we can actually pursue, like you actually be in the hospital as a patient advocate. They have paid roles for that. I remember I was doing that for my mother when she was in her last days at the hospital. So what are your guys' some of your experiences is like, as you're pursuing, as you are in your role as a healthcare practitioner, how are you feeling that the healthcare industry has changed so much where there's more things that you can do and be added to as a career pathway? Anybody want to answer that question?
I'm gonna say that on the clinical side, you mentioned something a little bit earlier. Not only do the providers need to be one with the patient, but the providers also need to understand that it's a team approach for taking care of patients. Because you have a medical assistant or a nursing assistant that usually does the assessment for the patient, and you've got lab people, you've got the provider who comes in, and oftentimes there'll be different parts of that visit that the patient is interacting with a team of people. It's not just the doctor that's doing everything. They really have a support team that works with them. So when you're in the clinical role, you're taking care of a patient, just keep in mind that you're a part of a team and you're going to rely on support staff to help share the information with the patient, help, like even when you're looking at medicines, you're managing the medications, you are educating them on what kind of condition they may have. It takes a team to do that so that the patient recognizes that they're being taken care of by a group of people who really care about them. So I think that's one of the things that I want to just add to. I think it was Dr. Little that was talking a little bit earlier that had mentioned that. That's one thing. But on the advocacy side, if we can recognize nowadays, there is still light being shown on how inequitable healthcare is to Blacks, Hispanics, underserved people who don't have a lot of options of where they can go based on their insurance or whatever the case may be, or lack of insurance. And we really need to speak up we really need to be in more of these healthcare roles because there are a lot of us who are not taken care of. And I mean, I'm going to just, my personal experience has happened many times, even with my father right now. In 10 days over the last month, within 10 days, he was in the hospital 3 times for his minor stroke is what we were told. Then he fell and hit his head and hit the back of his head. And they released him the same day, came back. And then I was called to come in to talk, to find out why he has been in the hospital 3 times in the emergency room. And never once did they mention that he needed to have some rehab. You know, I had asked all the questions that I could ask and asked them to run certain tests because I knew what they needed to run because of his health history. But they never once said that he needs to go into rehab when this is a person who was completely independent the day before he had his stroke, could do everything on his own, to not being able to do anything on his own. And so we don't always know, or our elderly parents or people in general don't always know what to ask. But I do know that there is more that can be done for us, but we have to demand it. And so the advocacy piece is big, because when we even sense that something is not, we're not being told all the information, we've got to figure out how we can step up and speak and say, okay, well, what about this? Why can't you do this for my father? So now, you know, he's had some rehab. Now he's back at home, moving slowly. But I know if my sister hadn't called me, he would have been back home again, sitting, waiting for somebody to pick him up. But this is something that takes place often, where we're given medicines that they don't explain what they are and why we use them, how often to use them. So I believe being an advocate and really learning what else am I entitled to, whether I have money or not. And we need, I think the younger generation can speak up a little bit more than what some of the older generation doesn't feel comfortable doing. So I hope that kind of helped with the question, but it's just something personally that I believe is still a big issue. And it came to light when COVID hit. I mean, we've been all talking about it. The stuff that they've been saying on TV about who's being affected by it it's true. And it does not need to be that way. But we need more of us in the healthcare field at every level, on the clinical and administrative side, because we're going to be the ones that have to make the change for our community. We cannot.
Go ahead, Dr. White.
You're absolutely right, Joyce. You're absolutely right, Joyce. Absolutely. That's why education is so very important, especially coming from people that look like them. You know, I have several patients that came in here, and I reached out to their previous provider to get, you know, background information, and you hear them say, oh, well, they non-compliant. You know, they don't want to take their medication. They don't want to do this. And when you actually sit there and talk to them and listen to them, some of them don't even understand. You haven't even explained these medications to them. You haven't even explained what could be the possible side effects. You haven't even explained the complications of not doing this or not taking this, or what may happen. So a lot of people in our community, is the lack of knowledge of not knowing. So them not knowing, they're not doing. So education is extremely important. No, every time a patient come in, I make sure that I educate them on some level, just so they can understand. And I ask them, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you have any questions? You know, you got to create that safe space for them to open up and be able to tell you things, because they will lay it on you thick. They will lay it on you thick if you open up that door for them too. And then you understand like why certain things is happening the way they happen. And certain things, maybe it's social issues, environmental issues that they may be experiencing, that they don't have the help, they can't get their medications and things and so forth. So it's just really, you really have to be that advocate. You really have to educate them so they can understand, so they can, you know, make better decisions for their life.
Excellent. We have a question in the chat from Laura Ramirez. I would like to enter into the administration aspect of healthcare. However, with the lack of experience, I'm not too sure where to start. Any tips to begin a path in entering the healthcare industry?
Now, is she in college right now, in high school?
Laura, are you in college right now? What level of school are you in?
Oh, I just graduated college.
Okay.
Hey,
So
congratulations.
do you know anybody that's in healthcare administration at all? Because my first suggestion would be that if you know someone, talk to them and ask them, what are some of the open positions that are available for me to get my foot in the door? Because when I finished my master's degree program, I applied for a fellowship. I did a fellowship at Howard University Hospital for 3 or 4 months to kind of understand how it's run. And my first assignment was in the mailroom to redesign how the mailroom people could get their information and mail and everything. But what it did was it allowed me to figure out how to bring people together, come up with some solutions, and then implement something new. So in healthcare administration, you can feel open to apply for any type of position as long as you get your foot in the door. It could be customer service. It can be in the administrative office, being an assistant to the administrator or someone in that area. Because what you want to do is just be in a position to start learning and ask a lot of questions about how the business is run. So there's no one position that you need to be in healthcare administrator. But having your bachelor's degree is an excellent start. Doesn't matter what the degree is in, just that you have one. And then you can start looking at different master's degree programs and see what options you have. And get it in terms of getting a position somewhere or working somewhere in the healthcare field, select whatever is available so you get your foot in the door. And you can call me, and I can put my number in the chat. I'm not sure where you're located, but I don't mind. I may end up knowing somebody in the area where you are, and I may be able to make a connection for you, because it'll be helpful to have connections too. There is an association called National Association of Health Services Executives. It's primarily Black and Hispanic association. It's also known as NACI, but that association exposes nurses, dentists, people in healthcare, that's training and education.
And I wanted to piggyback on what Joyce had said, because that was a good place where she ended. It's anything that you guys are interested in, seek out those associations and national organizations, because they usually have some form of student membership. And that's where you're able to be exposed to different people, multiple people who are in that arena, and you have a selection of individuals you could possibly choose from for mentorship. So that's just something that is huge. And I wanted to just reinforce that. So because oftentimes students are like, well, where do I begin? Because of their particular dynamic or their circle and who they associate with. And usually those organizations are a good place to start. And another place that I would tell people to start, since I do a lot of healthcare policy stuff and we do a lot of reading and a lot of research. If you're interested in something, look up and you look online, you can always email the author who either wrote the article, or you can contact the organization. Like if the hospital had put out a particular blog, or a healthcare institution or something put out a particular blog, and it's on a topic you're interested in, a healthcare topic, reach out to them and say, I came across your article and what you wrote. I'm telling you, authors love it. We love it because we're like, somebody's reading our stuff. But that's a way that you could develop some type of mentorship. And like Joyce was saying, even if that individual will not be able to take you on, that oftentimes we all belong to an organization or have a robust circle that we can connect you to someone.
We have another question. I am taking a course to become a medical assistant. What's my next steps do you recommend after I finish? Anybody can answer that.
So it depends, if you want to go further, if you want to get into nursing, because if you finish your medical assistant, of course, you want to get some experience with working as a medical assistant. So it really just depends on if you want to go further. It's a lot of programs, a lot of universities that have fast track programs. I know Purdue University does have one. It doesn't matter what bachelor's degree you have. It could be in business, they have like a fast track program, because I do have a colleague who had a bachelor's in business, decided she didn't want to do business no more and wanted to go to school for nursing. So she did the fast track program at Purdue University, which only took 15 months, and she ended up with a bachelor's as a registered nurse. So it is fast track programs out there. It just depends on what route you want to take and if you want to continue climbing up that ladder.
Anybody else want to add to that, Captain?
Yes, I actually messaged Juliana my phone number earlier, because I know she said that she was interested in becoming an RN. So just to piggyback off that, kind of depends on which program you want to go to. And are you a high school graduate? Have you had taken any college classes? Depends on like where you are right now academically.
In high school. What level of high school are you in? Junior, senior, sophomore, freshman? She's 11th grade.
Oh, perfect. I'm so glad that you're starting already. Yeah, you're right on track. Definitely give me a call. Doesn't have to be Army related, but I know it because of my job. I work closely with a lot of the deans across the nation, so I kind of know where their mindset is right now. And a lot of these schools have changed what their requirements are to become an RN. So a lot of the schools are moving toward the more holistic approach. They're getting away from focusing on that 4.0 GPA, because just because you had a 4.0 GPA does not mean you're going to be a good nurse. Doesn't mean you have the social skills or the heart and everything else it takes to be a registered nurse. So some schools require you to get that experience, and they require you to do it for so many hours. And then there are others who don't, but it will definitely won't hurt. So if you could definitely give me a call, we can talk and chat a little bit more to see exactly what your goals are, and I can try to get you on the right path.
Let's talk about that for a second. What has transitioned since past to present? Like, yes, schools are looking for a more holistic approach, even in hiring physicians and hiring healthcare practitioners and professionals. They want people who are more holistic. What else would you say, just from your experience, is changing?
Yeah, and so when I say holistic, they're looking more so who you are as a person. So like before, it was just the GPA. And because, just like all other schools want to maintain their credentials and their accreditations, and it used to be all about the numbers, because it's a business at the end of the day, and they want to make sure that the people are going to be able to pass nursing school and pass their boards. But also, I'm sure there was something that came up to give feedback on what the schools are producing out in the healthcare field. And the 4.0 students just are not cutting it. So who are you as a person? What is your background? Like, what is driving you to become a nurse? Those are things they're looking at. So now they are implementing the interview process. So if you have never done and conducted an interview, that is something that you could definitely work on. Is just learning how to speak in front of someone and to be able to put into words exactly what your goals and like your passion is in healthcare. They just want to see what your drive is, because those are the things that are going to push you to be successful in nursing school, but and beyond that, as well as like in nursing with patient care.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I like what you said about as an administrator, when I'm hiring, physician has mission, vision, and values, which most find people who already possess the ability to care about folks, or you don't care about that cultural expectations that, because I can say that I've brought care to be patient experience, because if we don't have patients else and do better when they're being taken care of, to really care about who we care, is that we want people who naturally care for the people that are sitting in front of you and help them.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm just experiencing a little technical difficulty. Give me a second. Please do so. I'm trying to switch
I kind of
my
want to go back, if you don't mind, to the question you asked earlier about like being successful as like a healthcare provider, like what are the things they kind of need to do to prepare. Kind of touched on like communication and obviously, time management, really think deep and like problem solve. So a lot of times, if just take the feedback, communicating, with every aspect of the patient, whether it be visual. And so you can't be your best patient if you haven't healed yourself. And like those, you may experience those very cold-hearted nurses or doctors when you deal with so much cynicism. And maybe that's how they used to deal with things.
All right, everybody get back? Okay. Okay, give it a second, give it a second. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. I disappeared for a hot second. I'm so sorry. Everybody load back on. It just, technology. Give it a second. I'm still recording. All right, so where do we leave off? I'm sorry, my internet went wonky all of a sudden. Can you hear me? Okay.
I had just put a few websites in the chat, just so that people can reference those if they're interested in getting loan repayments or scholarships when they're trying to enter nursing school, medical, dental school, those types of things. There's some funding available to help those who need that type of financial support.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, did we lose anybody when I popped off? I did make Raven my co-host. She's one of our. Did we lose anybody? I want to make sure. I'm gonna push.
It looks like everyone's still here.
Okay, great. Okay, because I can't. Something's going on with the internet. Okay. Oh, a question. Is there anything you wish you knew at my age? I'm a freshman. A freshman in what? High school or college? There's different types of freshmen. Did they reply? High school. Oh, wonderful.
I would like to answer that. Mainly because I just told my children that in my freshman year in high school, I had so much fun. I had like C's and D's. So one of the things that I wish I knew is that I did like not to have be as worried or stressed out, because things really naturally unfold. I'm a true believer with that sometimes that naturally, if we listen to like intuitively, like that voice that's inside of us, that things work is a process and things really unfold and work out really for our highest good. And I wish I didn't stress so much about having to do things so perfectly and to fit in a box and so forth. And I say that because as I progressed in the career pathway of nursing, because that's really what it is from CNA to PhD, as I progressed, more and more, I realized that the traditional things that were expected of me was not fit for me because I'm a creative. Can't you tell I'm already animated? So I realized that that my gifts, like the natural gifts that I had, I needed to marry it with the skills and trainings that I got. And once I figured that out, as in me being a natural writer and speaker and marrying that with nursing, that's when I was able to get aligned and things really started working out for me. But when I tried to squeeze into academia, a lot of things that I do on a national level, because I'm a senior policy advisor now with AARP, a lot of things I do on a national level, I was doing that in academia in 2018. During meetings, I would pitch ideas and so forth, and people would roll their eyes and catch an attitude and things like that, because you do encounter some of the things when individuals are not secure in who they are, they will be uncomfortable with those who know who they are. And that's just how life is. And so the same, I was always doing the right thing. I was just in a different place. So another thing I wish I had knew then is not to be so not to really try to force myself to fit in. Anything is force, that's force. is not meant for you. It's the things that flow, because now it's like what I'm doing now, they love it. Give me more ideas, more ideas. What's that? I'm thinking about that. What you read, what you see, and then networking. So who I am naturally is appreciated on this level versus what it was then. So just be open to, those are just the two things, just to be aware of that. Like, don't be too intense or worry or stressed out much about where you're going to go, because oftentimes you don't know. I would have never thought on this in a million years, this is what I'll be doing. And then the last thing, do not force yourself to fit in certain types of dynamics. If a dynamic doesn't fit for you when you start working in healthcare, then go explore something else, because there's something for you. There's something for everyone.
That was powerful. Anybody else want to add to that?
You're already on like a great path. As a freshman, I was not sitting in one of these. Okay. So you're already on a really good start. And like what she said, I think we put a lot of pressure on teenagers and high schoolers. You know, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? When a lot of us who are grown up still are trying to figure out what it is that we want to be when we grow up. So just really take this time to develop into your true self. And, you know, take advice from mentors and your parents and, you know, people who have wisdom. But like she says, find a way to also stay true to yourself and your own identity and like what it is that your true gifts are. Because a lot of times we think we know what's best for you, but no one's really ever going to know what's best for you other than you. But you got to figure out who it is that you really are. So just take this time to develop and find people to shadow in different areas so that, you know, you don't think like, I just want to be a nurse, but maybe it's really, you know, you wanted to be a dentist or a pathologist or, you know, something else. So just definitely get out there and shadow and try to get as much exposure as possible.
Excellent. Excellent. Dr. White.
They put the icing on the cake. I agree with them 100%. I agree with them 100%. Just stay true to yourself, and do not try to, stick to a tradition. It might not work for you. Don't put yourself in a box. Always think outside the box. Be outside the box. Be you. Be your authentic self.
Hey, you can even also consider, you might start in your community amongst people who you look like you, speak the same language as you do, but then there might be a need someplace else that they're looking for somebody like you to represent a community that didn't have an outreach. So don't put yourself in a box. Nurses, healthcare practitioners travel the world because of issues that are going on in the health that relate to health. The World Health Organization, the Red Cross, these institutions and organizations have infrastructures in place for people to travel and be in the midst of some really awesome, groundbreaking healthcare, just from everything from natural disasters to, things that are happening in a community because there's a breakout that's going on. You never know. Or it's just setting up a hospital just because there's no hospital in the area. It's a rural area, and there's plenty of rural areas in our own backyards that don't have hospitals or clinics or practitioners close by, a stone's throw away, and there's nobody to drive them to this facility. So you got to think outside the box. Anybody else want to add to that from our panelists? Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so I have one final question for this entire wonderful closure. You have made it in your career. You are doing the work that you have set out to do, and maybe it took you in a different healthcare plan. Maybe you're not an RN, maybe you're a doctor, maybe you're a radiologist, wherever you're at, but you love it. How can you stay in the know, cutting edge? What are some of the tips you should give somebody who has to stay, what's going on in today's, healthcare industry? What's going on in today's politics, to know the rules and laws that affect your community and your state? Things are happening in different states that are shifting healthcare for women, shifting healthcare for people of color. I mean, this is all talking points for this generation. So how can you, now that you made it in your careers, how can you encourage these people who are about to be there in the next 2 to 5 to 10 years, how to stay, cutting edge and, not a past, but a present?
Make sure that you be part of an organization. I'm part of a few organizations, American Nurses Association. You have to keep yourself in the know. So I'm always signing up for educational seminars. I'm always looking up national guidelines to make sure that I'm up to date on those. So just mainly just finding a nursing organization and signing up with that nursing organization will kind of keep you up to date on a lot of things that's going on, providing you different resources, opportunities for you to stay abreast of your education and up on what's going on in the now. So yeah.
If you're a part of a community, then you can get involved in some of the community grassroots efforts if it's around healthcare in any way. Because even when you can have opportunities to speak in front of some of the local elected officials, advocate for healthcare in different ways. And I certainly am in favor of joining an organization, an association that helps you. And it's not just the nursing associations, physicians associations, but there are also technology associations that are related to healthcare if you're interested in technology. So if you can kind of even just doing Google searches and finding out what are the different types of healthcare associations, and you can join some of those. I host a podcast called Healthcare Chat. And when you get involved in either some social media aspects or listen on some of these different podcasts, you're learning more of what's happening right then because people are talking about stuff so much and so often. There's so many different topics. You can expose yourself that way. Find a mentor. So it doesn't really matter if it's somebody you're going to have for your entire, for the next 2 or 3 years, but find someone who will be committed to helping, who cares about you enough to help you move forward in the direction you're trying to go. If you can do that, that'll help you as well.
Excellent. Captain?
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Dr. Little. I'm sorry.
So I definitely co-sign to what Dr. White and Joyce had said, but one of the things that I've noticed when I serve as a mentor is the follow-ups. If your mentor takes the time to email you and reach out to you, keep that communication open. I've come across so many different students and sometimes they just drop the ball on the communication. We understand that life happens and just keep the communication, even if it's like Merry Christmas or Happy New Year or something, just once in a while. Like, I know I haven't spoken with you in a while, but I was thinking about you and this is what's going on with me. And that's it. But when you just drop after someone is investing in you and they want to mentor you, it just makes them just kind of feel like, okay, are they really interested? And even though we'll take an extra step, but and reach out again, that's what I do. But just wanted to just remind individuals that when you have a mentor, keep the communication lines open, and not just because you do not ever want it to appear like you drop off. And then when something comes up for letter of recommendation, all of a sudden you reappear. You want to have a relationship, because relationships are really, they carry you further along.
Excellent. And relationships start now while you're in school. For those people who are currently in school, whether you're in high school, because those can be your future patients, clients, and even practitioners that are alongside you, and also in college. I would definitely suggest that you network with your professors and keep good relationships with your professors who are the industry experts in their field, and they can speak about those things. And a lot of hospitals are starting from universities. So like, for those people who are part of a university and they have a hospital associated with it, that's a great place to network and do that. So please keep your relationships on your campuses integral. At high standing, people can always relate back to you. Captain, would you like to say a final?
Yes, great responses. I agree with everything they said. And let's say for our future nurses, when you're in nursing school, they have what's called the Student Nurse Association. So that kind of teaches you how to already be active in an organization and with an association. But don't just sign up as a member, like actually be involved, run for as the vice president or the president or treasurer, whatever the case may be in that association, so that you're kind of forcing yourself and holding yourself accountable that you're not just riding the coattail of that association, but you're also contributing. Because once you actually become a nurse, you're going to have the opportunity to contribute in the national associations, and you can really truly make a difference in patient care. For us who are in the Army, they're really big, obviously how we get promoted. They could care, I don't say they care less, but it's not about, as an officer, it's not about just the patient care that I provide, but it's like, what am I doing as a leader? How am I giving back to my country? How am I contributing to my hospital, my patients? What ideas am I coming up with? And a lot of medicine is spearheaded by the military. And so you see this ponytail I'm rocking? Well, somebody, we just hit our 1 year anniversary in the Army. I know it's kind of crazy, took a couple 100 years, but we women can now have ponytails and wear earrings and makeup in the Army. And, it took people of color who are not afraid of, women of color who are not afraid of standing up. And it's probably someone who has a history of being very present and vocal in those associations and have gotten practice in speaking and presenting like issues. And so it was a team of, someone brought the issues up, and then it was a team of dermatologists and physicians within our Army who brought forth the data to show that women of color suffer from alopecia and other issues from us having our hair pulled back in the bun, and so that was one of the reasons why we're able to now wear ponytails. So there's so many levels to this. And that's what I say, like just staying in the know is like start, at your, as soon as you can, whether it be in high school or within your college, learn how to be part of an association, organization, and actually be active in it.
Excellent. Dr. White?
I went already.
Oh, you did. Who else didn't go? Joyce, did you go? Everybody went.
We all went.
Okay. Well, this conversation is endless. You see how organic we are? We're just having fun. Okay, so to finally close us out, I want to thank each and every one of my special guests, which are not just my panelists of Superstar Wonder Women, but also the superstars of these students. Congratulations for making it to another year of school.
Yes.
Yay. Yes. For those of you who have graduated to the next level, for those of you who graduated completely and you're going out into the real world, congratulations. We are super excited for you. The future holds you hold your future. How about that? Let's just say it like that. Can you guys put your information in the chat for all of them, how they can get in contact with you if they have any further questions, if any of you guys felt like you didn't want to ask something right away because you were intimidated or whatever the case, shy, you can definitely, I create a community. This is what this whole thing is about. It's about creating a family, a community, a holistic wraparound service that we do here. So please follow up with any of these pieces. I know, Dr. Patrice, you have a book. What's the name of your book? So everybody knows it. Out of crazy, boring genius, reclaim a life worth living after abuse. And what I do is I talk about my traumatic story, being an adult survivor of child abuse, and the disciplines that I set in place in the 7 principal areas of life, so I can be a functional adult and not treat people or hurt people because I experienced hurt. So that's it. Oh, that's a lot. Okay. And Joyce, what's the name of your podcast? Put it in the chat so everybody can follow your podcast. If you're not on LinkedIn, you need to get on LinkedIn and follow these women. They're doing great and awesome things. Anybody else have a book or podcast or going to be showing up live in person somewhere? And you got to shout it out. Where's your clinic at, Dr. White?
in Calumet City of Illinois.
Okay, very good. So if y'all next, how close is that to Chicago? Let's put
10
in
minutes.
10 minutes from Chicago. There you are. If you're in Chicago, you want to look up Dr. White. What's the name of your clinic again?
ANS Divine Healthcare.
Hey, Divine Healthcare. That's beautiful. ANS Divine Healthcare. And then go ahead.
I'll be the keynote speaker for my graduate class, the University of Washington School of Public Health. I won an Alumni Impact Award, and they've asked me to be their commencement speaker. So that'll be on. I'm really
Congratulations. See,
Congrats.
I don't get no small fries up in here. I got the big whole potatoes. I got the potatoes up in here.
Potatoes with sour cream, cheese, and some bacon.
Everything. Got it fully loaded. So this is amazing. So if you guys have any further questions, again, my name is Mrs. Denise Parker. I am the manager of internships and careers for the National College Resources Foundation. I travel to over 13 cities nationwide. We do these talks, not just virtually every week, but we also do these talks in person at our Black College Expo, Latino College Expo, Virtual Career Expo, Virtual Graduate School Symposium. I've been doing it all, just making sure that we get you guys connected to resources. All our resources are for free. The only thing we ask you to do is to give to somebody else, pull somebody else up, bring them in, let them understand that we all can make it together. That's how we're going to shift our country. That's how we're going to change everything around. That's how we're going to make our world a better place to live if we all do the work together. Again, thank you to our wonderful guests, Dr. Patrice Little, Adriana Crystal Williams, Dr. Angel White, and Miss Joyce Tapley. Thank you so much for all that you guys have done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.